Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you had a great week, and if you have been following my videos, that you were prepared for the sell-off this week, whether it was hedging what you already had in your long-term positions or potentially going ahead and taking some profit and looking to add back in once they're lower now. You know, I did mention last week that I thought that the SPY was going to go down to 270, potentially 265. So I hope that you were ready for that. I do have the Trade Ideas Summit up on the screen. I will be there in San Diego as part of the panelists there, so definitely check it out. bit.ly/T I stream. The link is down below. If you guys want to watch it, it is free to live stream it. There are going to be some great speakers there. We have Brett Steenberger that's going to be talking about trading and psychology, Brian Shannon, the CEO of Alpha Trends, JC Peretz from All Star Charts, and more. So definitely check it out. We've got Max, the founder of Medaz Money, Kunal Desai, myself, as well as Dan and Cameron Newell. So check it all out, register for it, it's free. Why not get free knowledge, right? That's one of the big things that I try to help you guys with, is trying to get as much free knowledge as you can, just like the free trading room as well at Trade Ideas. So all the links are down below. Also, definitely check out, I will be doing a blog post about the sell-off this week. And let's go ahead and get into the indices for review. As I mentioned last week, we had this downward trend upward, and then it started to pull back. So we really had Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. So it continued down from Thursday, Friday, sell off on Monday, a little bounce off of the 50-day moving average, and then we just followed this downward trend down here, broke down below the 200-day moving average, and look at that, we bounced off of this monthly trend line. So I'm going to change this trend line color so you will see exactly what I'm talking about. We'll make it green, go back on the monthly chart, and sure enough, look, we had this monthly chart here, the bottom of these candles right here, and we tested that this week. So given the fact that we see that this day we had right here, we had big volume, we had bigger volume here, but it didn't drop further. It actually had a little wick to the bottom and even more of a wick on Friday. So I'm thinking that as long as it can hold above, 272 area, that we are going to be bullish and we're going to start to see this move up. Now, it could test this downward trend line and pull back a little bit further. So I wouldn't say we're out of the woods just yet, but I think for the next couple days, one, maybe two more days, we might go up and test that 280 level before pulling back or continuing up in an upward trend, and then maybe testing this downward trend line here on the daily chart. So let's look at the Nasdaq. I pulled it back and I did the monthly trend line as well right here, which we broke below. So we broke the 50-day moving average, and then we bounced a little bit and then pulled back down below the 200-day moving average, just like the SPY, and then on Friday held up above that and above this monthly trend line. So as long as we go ahead, we break this nice little resistance here, 175 area. If we break that, I think we're going to go ahead and potentially head on up to 179 this week. But we shall see. As always, guys, the market is going to decide. And where the big guys are putting their money will really make a difference. So, we saw that really they took it out. They took a bunch out this week and could be pumping it right back in now that everything's on a discount. We got some Black Friday sales going on, some good value stocks. This is the Russell 2000. So again, same thing. It's been following this downward trend line, and it broke the 200-day moving average Wednesday, and it looks like this could be that nice support area, 153.58. The 152.16 sort of was a support area back in the past right here. It had tested, broke below it, broke above, and then bounced off of it and has been up above it ever since. So it looked like it tested it again, and we shall see if it will stay up above it. You draw a line here, 153.50, and it looks like it wants to hold above there from the past if you look back further on that dashed line. So definitely keep them on watch. It could just test this downward trend line, but I think we might be in that upward momentum area. It could just be a bounce coming up for a further sell-off to the downside. As always, guys, we'll go ahead and get into the long list for the week of potential trades. I had some flack The people are like, oh, all of our trades go the wrong direction. Guys, these are stocks that are going to be volatile for the upcoming week. Yes, the momentum could be potentially to the long side or potentially to the short side. However, what the big thing is to watch the levels. So YGYI, right? So this one is a low float stock. I'd actually been talking to someone about this earlier in the week, and I said, hey, this is closed up high on the day on Thursday. Keep it on watch. It's a lower float stock with 5.5 million in the float. If it breaks this level, it could definitely run. Sure enough, it did that on Friday. And again, on the 15-minute chart, you know, it held above really 1226 all day for Friday. So I would use that as support and 1350 as resistance. I'm not setting this in stone that this is going to go long. You have to watch and you have to have some understanding saying, okay, well, if this resistance is broken and there's volume, that will likely create more momentum to the upside. Or if this support is broken and there's volume selling, that will likely create a short momentum. So it's not that this is only going to be a long or it's only going to be a short. It's that it's going to be volatile and good for trading. These are primarily for an intraday trade. However, sometimes if it is breaking out overall on the year, you will see that upward trend continue longer. And if it's breaking down off of a 52-week low, you will see that low continue for a bit longer. You know, potentially a week, potentially 2 weeks, but really the market does decide. So for those people that really, they're like, oh, this isn't good, but they obviously just don't understand. So trying to educate you guys, if you guys don't already know that it's really important to pay attention to the volume to see where that momentum is going to go. If it tests this resistance and it can't break it, or it breaks it with very, very little volume, like look right here, it broke this to the downside, but the buyers brought it back up and closed above that 1226. So if that can happen again and this ends up being support, this could be a great long potential entry. But if it breaks it and there's a lot of volume below that's increasing, that means get out, protect your capital. All right, enough about that. So YGYI does have 57% short float volume, and back on the yearly chart, it is breaking out on the year for 5-year overall brand new highs for the company. And let's go into the next one, NXTD. Now I like NXTD. You can see it's got this downward trend to it. It did break above it. It does have earnings coming up. Well, this is weekly, excuse me. Let's put it on the daily so you can see that. So it does have this downward trend line. It broke above it. I would say support of 132, resistance of 150. We'll look at the 15-minute chart from Friday. You can see it really broke this trend line here on the 15-minute chart. Looks like somebody actually bought right on that trend line, and it's been going up. It does have 24.65 million in the float, and it has 57.83% short float volume from Friday. So keep it on watch and check it out and see if it continues in the upward motion on Monday. We also have Sohu. So Sohu is part of the Chinese sector of stocks, which the Chinese sector of stocks, oh, that's right, I want to pull this up on FinViz. Sorry, quick segue here, guys. So we go to FinViz, we go to screeners, we go to country. So you can see overall, based on the trade agreements and everything like that with China, China is down here, negative 13.3%. And on Friday alone, China had a 2.8% increase. So therefore, there's potential for this whole sector to grow. And Sohu is in that sector. Let's pull it back on the yearly chart. You can see that this is old. We will get rid of this one right here. So we have Sohu that's had this nice downward trend here. It did have a bounce off of the bottom. We are going into earnings, so therefore this could be earnings momentum that's coming up. We have the 50-day moving average at 2076, and you can see it's starting to curl on the EMAs as well. So really, I would say the move could potentially be up to 2076 for the long side. It does have 28.2 million in the float, and it was 42.5% short float volume on Friday. And being in the Chinese sector with Trump potentially meeting with the Chinese president, that this could end up being a good sector to watch for the week, that everything that was beaten down over the year, it's now up 2.8% Friday, could be up a lot more going into that meeting. Support of 1821 and resistance of 1880. We also have CTRP, another one. This is part of the Chinese sector as well. On the 15-minute chart, 37.15 for support and 38.84 for resistance. It does have 430 million in the float, so it might take a little bit longer for it to move, and 59.9% short float volume on Friday. If we look back at the year, same thing. The whole sector was beaten down and pretty much ran up. We have CTRP, IQ as well, that had that BABA as well, that ran up and then pulled back a bit. So you can see that the whole Chinese sector, as one of them goes in the upward motion based on the trade talks, that you'll see a bunch of them move together. Vice versa, if you see the whole sector going down, like we did with the trade talks, boom, the whole sector is going to go down. So right now, these are all pretty much on sale. BABA is very much like the Amazon or eBay of China, so it's got some value behind it as far as a Chinese investment stock potentially. But you know, it's up to you if you'd like to get in up here with a potentially a $14 risk to the downside, as that kept setting new lows, new lows, new lows. But now that the Chinese talks are coming out, it looks like it could be bouncing up. So back to CTRP, again, it does, I would say 37.15, 38.84, 430 million, and 59.9% short float volume on Friday. Last on the long list, we do have Nflx. So a lot of these value stocks, a lot of the FANG stocks were sold off this week. This one did hit the 200-day moving average, bounced up. We have a, you know, this one's looks like it's got a nice reversal pattern to it. I would say on the 15-minute chart, we are looking for support of 336.30 and resistance of 340 and 43 cents. So watch those levels for it to break out. It did close back here at 32.21, so it already had a nice $19 move to the upside. As most of the stocks, all of those big value stocks were sold off. People are taking money out. Now the big guys could potentially be putting money in, you know, the mutual fund holders, everything like that, hedge funds, because they're saying, oh, hey, look, everything is about 10% off. We should start dumping our money in. But I wouldn't be 100% sure until we see pretty much like into Wednesday of this upcoming week. Next on the short list, we have PNC that had earnings on Friday. Had it on my watch list as a short, so if you knew that, you knew to get in. Pretty much if it opened below 129, 130 basically. If it opened below 130, that was a good point to short, and sure enough, it went down for a low of the day of 121. So watch this one for support of 122.26 and 125.22 for resistance. On the year, we're setting all-time lows, 52-week lows, and overall for the 5-year, it looks like it could go down further to 119, potentially another $2 if it broke that down to 115 area. It does have 461 million in the float. Next, we have Sonos Group, which is going to be a lower float with 47.5 million in the float. This one is an IPO, so you can treat this one, you know, it's setting new lows, so there's absolutely no resistance to the bottom. It's been open since July 30th. This is our weekly chart. So it shot up, it bounced, went up, but it's never broken the high from the second day of opening, and it broke down below in September, and then it tested that support as resistance, and it came back down. So this could be further selling to the downside as well. So look for a breakdown of 1250 or a breakout of 1311, and it does have 47.5 million in the float. Then we have CSLT, which we can ignore this up here. That was obviously for a potential long breakout, but now we have it to the downside for potential short breakout. And I would say a support to be broken down of 2.25 and a resistance of 2.35. You know, really this is setting new 52-week lows, and it could be breaking down further. Pretty much looks like all-time lows for the stock. So it could be breaking down. We do have earnings coming up, potential negative 8-cent loss. It had negative 10-cent loss last time as well. So just keep it on watch. It does have 73 million in the float. We also have LEA, Lear Company. So we'll get into the 15-minute chart. I would look for support of 132.63 and resistance of 134.50. You can see on Friday, it basically never broke above the low on Thursday. Excuse me, on Wednesday here. On Thursday, it held up above and then boom, just kept on breaking down at the 52-week lows as well. So keep it on watch. If we look at it on the yearly chart, you can see it's just been in a downward trend basically since 11th of June on a 5-year chart. It looks like we might have found support, but it could break down further down to this area down here, 126.50. And it does have 65 million in the float. Last one for the short list, one of the great ones that's been a short this entire year pretty much, Tesla. So Tesla's had this downward trend. Oh, look, I'm gonna go and take it private. Nope. Uh-oh, SEC investigation, boom. It bounced up a little bit, but it can't seem like it wants to get momentum to the upside. And we shall see. It did close above the 4 EMA on Friday, and it looks like potentially buyers are trying to push it up here, but I would need more confirmation of it breaking up above, or with it, you know, closing up above 265 here, 261.12 for the upward resistance to break out, and 257.87 for support to be broken down to the bottom. And we do have the yearly low of 244, which it didn't hit there. It hit back in April 2nd. I also have a couple on the long list as well to watch. We have ENZ. I forgot to mention Tesla has 129 million in the float. So we have ENZ Biochem. It's basically been hovering down here around the low of the year, and it closed up above. It does have a bit of upward motion to it. If we pull it back on the weekly chart, you can see it's had this downward death spiral almost, but it looks like it found support. It broke it on Thursday and then it bounced back up. So it does need to test this level and break out above, I'd say 425, and hold above 425 before getting into it for the longer term. We also have here, which has had a big sell-off. It had this big super run up. It does have, I think it's something like 19 million in the float, and it had this downward trend. Looks like it came wanting to potentially test the support area here, and then it ran up and it's closed up above 20, which is a big strong mental resistance. So we'll see if this does have continued upward motion to it in the following weeks to come. As well as Site, S-I-T-E. This one does have downward motion to it, but it does have the earnings coming up, and it looks like it's had the sell-off, excuse me, this is the weekly. Here we go. Sell-off, found the low, and it's bounced up right here. So look for it to continue potentially up to the 200-day moving average, 79.63. If we have more volume coming in, it looks like the buyers are stepping in, so keep that in mind. And then the final one, Ioba. So Ioba, same scenario. Big sell-off, big gap up. Does look like the sellers dropped it down a bit, but it has this massive volume with it. So keep it on watch if it can continue and hold up above here. I'd say holding up above about 11 would be good. If it can't hold above 11, I would get out, in my opinion, if I were to get into this. And as always, we have ACBFF, which is Aurora Cannabis, which is due to go on to an uplisting to the New York Stock Exchange. And it would be the 4th cannabis stock from Canada to be uplisted. We had CGC was the first one back in May. Then we had Cron, which had a big run up. And then, of course, everybody knows Tilray. And the reason why Tilray went so parabolic is because the float is lower. With Aurora Cannabis, they are looking to go ahead and just have an uplisting, no additional shares to be added. However, they did have the first transportation of cannabis for medical use across the border, which was huge. And we do have the legalization of cannabis, and the whole sector might be rocking this week on October 17th. As always, guys, if you like my content, please like and subscribe, and please shoot any comments of anything you'd like to hear in the upcoming videos. And I'm looking to add sort of a vlog in the middle of the week as well, just to keep you guys updated as to what's going on. It was a crazy month for me last month in September, being in the hospital, sick kids, but you know what? Life goes on and we make things happen. That's what it's all about. Have a great week ahead. Carpe Profit.